reporting to prison on Monday.
I am.
How do you feel about that?
I'm a political prisoner. I feel great about it. It's got to, whatever. Look, I served my nation on that destroyer in my 20s and back at the Pentagon. I'm serving my country right now as a political prisoner in Danbury starting on Monday. It will not change this show. It will not change our impact. It won't change me. It will not suppress my voice. My voice will not be suppressed while I'm there. I'm a political prisoner of Nancy Pelosi and Merrick Garland. And if it took me going to prison to finally get the House to start to move, to start to delegitimize the illegitimate J6 committee, then hey, guess what? My going to prison is worth it.
And no regrets about not cooperating with the subpoena from the January 6th
No
committee?
regrets. First of all, I took the big technical case is taking your lawyer's advice. I took my lawyer's advice as everybody else in the country, if they had a high-powered lawyer, would do. So first off, technically, it was advice of counsel. But also, in addition, the illegitimacy of how it was structured and this concept of executive privilege, how it has to be worked out. Even though I'm in prison, I'm still going to go forward. We file en banc to the entire circuit on July 15th with an amicus brief from the Speaker of the House and the House of Representatives. I'll have an amicus brief, and then depending on what happens there, we're going to go to the Supreme Court.
Okay, I have one other.
So no regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I had a pretty good weekend. Very, very productive weekend. It was hot. It was hot here. But that's okay because I live in an area of the world that gets really cold in the winter. So you got to appreciate those hot days because the cold days are always just right around the corner. You know what I mean? So it was nice to enjoy some nice weather, but we have lots to talk about today, guys. First of all, as you can see, Steve Bannon is reporting to prison. In fact, he has reported to prison. He was taken into custody today. Yes, he's a political prisoner. He was taken into custody today. I have some footage of Steve Bannon being taken into custody. And it's a very weird time we are at in the United States right now. When Steve Bannon, he takes the advice of his counsel, and he is held in contempt of Congress, and he's taken into custody and put in prison for 4 months because of his quote-unquote contempt of Congress. Also, it's very interesting as well that those 4 months seem to coincide directly with Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Like the heat of it. The most important part of President Trump's presidential campaign for 2024, Steve Bannon is put in prison. Federal prison. I wonder. That can't be a coincidence, right? But of course, you point like something like that out, you are called a conspiracy theorist because that's what they do. That is the number one way that the Democrats, the left, attack people like you, me, the rashly minded, where we can see things. They just slap a label on you. And it doesn't matter if that label sticks. It doesn't matter if that label makes any sense. As long as it's derogatory and elicits some sort of emotion, negative emotion in other people when they think about you, see you, or what you represent, that's all that matters. All they care is about the effect. They don't care if the label is actually accurate or not, because they exist in the shadows and they use dishonest means to try to gain power, of course. Also, we're going to be talking about, unfortunately, guys, it's still dominating the news cycle. Joe Biden, is he staying or is he going? What is happening? He had an abysmal performance in his debate last week. And what is going to happen with the guy? All of us, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people in this space, political pundits and YouTubers and whatnot. And everyone as soon as the debate was over, it was like, he's gone. He is gone. There's no way he is staying in the race. I thought so too, because it was pretty incredible how bad Biden did. Like I said before, for years, every time Biden would give a big speech, Republicans would talk about this idea that he was really going to bomb big time. And that really never happened. I mean, he had flubs, he had gaffes, he had embarrassing moments, but he never bombed like we thought he was going to bomb. But that moment finally happened last week during the debate. He absolutely bombed, and he bombed hard. And how can he come back from that? It's really weird. It looks like there is a faction within the Democrat Party that is pushing for Biden to be removed. And this faction seems to have some friends within the media, because the media is attacking Joe Biden to some degree. They are asking these questions. But then you have the establishment faction who are digging their heels in. And when I say the establishment faction, I mean the big players. Apparently, they think that Joe Biden is still a viable candidate in this race. How, you ask? I don't know. But if 2020 is any indication, maybe they think they have more of a chance than it looks. Do you see what I did there? But Obama and Bill Clinton have both said that this is not something to worry about. This is something that'll pass. Biden, he has bad debates. You know, they're trying to calm everybody within the Democrat Party and say, listen, Biden is going to be the nominee. So what you can kind of glean from that, it looks like the Democrats take their marching orders. I mean, up until now, we'll see what happens in the future. But the Democrats take their marching orders from Obama probably first and Bill Clinton next. Or maybe vice versa. I don't know. So that kind of shows you who is really running the Democrat Party, because now you're starting to see a lot of the media kind of do a 180. And there's still some in the media that is attacking Joe Biden. But we are going to go through all of this, guys. But before we do, I want to see who is in the chat. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. It is a fantastic morning. Of course, we have Michelle in the chat. I've gotten kind of into this habit of starting early. I don't know what's up with that, but sometimes I just don't want to wait. I just want to go for it, because I've started getting it up really early now. And I do my research. I have all my clips and articles I want to read. And I get to the point where I'm done and I'm like, I just want to go. I just want to do it. So that's where we're at. We got Michelle, of course, the best moderator in the world. We have Jeremy Brummer in the chat. I noticed he was in the chat really early. Jeremy, thank you. Thank you for joining me today. If you guys are watching, please hit that like button. That really helps me out a lot. And if you can hit that share button, that helps me out a lot as well. So thank you guys for watching. We have Valerie in the chat. She says, good morning, everybody. Jeremy says, welcome to the chat, Patriots. If you don't mind, hit that like button. The more shares and comments helps break the YouTube algorithm and forces YouTube to push this video out. Thanks. That is correct. And I know we are talking about, the first segment is going to be about Steve Bannon. And I know YouTube doesn't like Steve Bannon. So this video will most likely be suppressed in some way or another, because any video I do about this guy, it really gets suppressed. But let's get into everything. So we already saw Steve Bannon went on NBC and he said that he is a political prisoner of Merrick Garland and Nancy Pelosi as well. Well, Steve Bannon, this was, I believe, yesterday. He hosted his show on Real America's Voice outside the prison that he will be incarcerated in for the next 4 months. Now, this guy, he's such a genius when it comes to optics. And for him to do this, he's really playing it up. And when I say that, I'm not saying that to kind of not take it seriously what is happening to him. But in a situation like this, where it's really unprecedented, he is seizing every opportunity that he can to put the optics on this. And that's what he did right here with his show, Real America's Voice. Just a short clip from his show. I believe it was yesterday or maybe the day before. I don't know the exact date. But this is what he had to say.
The year of our Lord 2024, we are outside of the federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut. And you're hosted tonight by federal prisoner number 05635-509, formerly Stephen K. Bannon. My co-host in the year of our Lord 2020.
So he hosts his show outside, I believe it's Danbury prison in Connecticut. And then he reads off his prisoner number. You got to admit, the guy is brilliant when it comes to optics. This is why Donald Trump won in 2016, because this guy he's so smart when it comes to these things. And I'll read you, or I'll play a video here in a second, where Jen Psaki admits to this. She admits that Steve Bannon is a brilliant, and she calls him a mind-bending communicator. This is the video right here. This is the prison that Steve Bannon is serving his sentence in Danbury, Connecticut, where he has reported to today. No sound on the video. Looks like it's a little bit foggy outside there. But for the next 4 months, looks like Steve Bannon will be spending his time in this prison. And here is the video of Steve Bannon being taken into custody.
This is what happens in the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, the entire Justice Department, they're not going to shut up Trump. They're not going to shut up Navarro. They're not going to shut up Bannon, and they're certainly not going to shut up MAGA.
We are at war.
People ask me, what can we do? Listen, pray for our enemies.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's a copyrighted song, but that's what you saw right there. You saw it right there, guys. Reported to prison. He said, this is what happens in the last day of a dying regime. And he's absolutely correct. For the next 4 months, he will be a political prisoner of Merrick Garland, who himself was held in contempt of Congress, the same charge which Steve Bannon is going to prison for. Yet Merrick Garland, what kind of repercussions is he going to be facing? Probably zero. Even the movement in the House to hold him in an inherent contempt that would allow the sergeant of arms to take him into custody and hold him in jail until he complied with the subpoena to give the audio tapes of Joe Biden's interview with Robert Hur to the House, to Congress. Even that has really not gone anywhere. Why can't we add some teeth to these subpoenas when it comes to the Democrats, when it comes to Merrick Garland? Yet when it comes to Steve Bannon, he sees everything. He has to go to prison for 4 months, even though he was relying on advice of counsel. But the real reason why they want Steve Bannon in prison is really, it has nothing to do with law and justice and the right thing. It has nothing to do with that. What it really has to do with is this right here. And Jen Psaki explains it, that Steve Bannon is a genius. He is a mind-bending communicator. He really is. If you have watched any of his documentaries, have heard any of his talks, his speeches, any of his debates, He really is a fantastic communicator, and he makes you think in a way that a lot of people are not able to. And that's why he has such access to Donald Trump, and why Donald Trump relies on him for a lot of advice, because he has this very unique perspective that a lot of people don't hold. But listen to Jen Psaki talk about Steve Bannon.
I mean, first of all, he is a brain-bending communicator. And what I mean by that is you watch it, and I was sitting there thinking, wow, he's suggesting that they're going to work within the system to go after enemies, right? Which makes it sound almost rational. And that to me is very scary. When he mentioned Project 2025 and held up the entire binder of that, the biggest thing about Project 2025 is taking over the Department of Justice and basically taking away all of its power so that Trump can go after political enemies, prosecute them, do whatever he wants. That is what the big plan is. And it's all interesting because tomorrow the Supreme Court, of course, is going to rule on immunity. Yeah. This is a guy, he talks to him all the time. Donald Trump is a guy who is out there every day running on the notion that he is immune, essentially, that he can do whatever he wants.
That is an amazing thing. I mean, he says.
I mean, first of all, he is a.
So there you have it, guys. Steve Bannon. It's really scary that Steve Bannon is talking. What she's saying here, essentially. Steve Bannon is talking about holding people accountable within the system, which is what you would want, right, in a functioning society, right? I mean, what's scary about that? That is what you would want in a functioning society. And she thinks it is ominous and scary that Steve Bannon is talking about using the system to hold people accountable. People that we've seen go after Trump over and over and over in a corrupt way. People like Matthew Colangelo, who comes from Biden's administration, comes down to prosecute Trump. This is a political prosecution. Investigate those things. Use the system, not outside the law, but use the system. All of a sudden, that is scary to Jen Psaki. If you use the system and the laws of the country to go after people who have engaged in corruption and have engaged in really tearing the country apart. I mean, you can see it. You can literally see it through inflation, through our borders, through our foreign wars that we're just pumping money into. You can see it every single day. But if you use a system to go after these people, that is ominous. That is scary. But guys, let's pivot to Joe Biden. And I have a lot of stuff on Joe Biden. Lots of stuff, because this is really what is happening in the news right now. This is what is dominating the cycle. This rift in the Democratic Party right now. Those who want Joe Biden to go versus those who are saying, no, Joe Biden's not going anywhere. He is staying. Everything's okay. What you saw was just a fluke. That debate won't matter. Don't look over there. That's not reality. We'll tell you what reality is. Don't use your own brain to determine whether or not Joe Biden is fit for office. Let us tell you if he is fit for office. I'm going to go through some of the evidence that shows that Joe Biden is going to go. And from the research I've done, at least as it stands now, it looks like Joe Biden's not going anywhere. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. But I will let you guys make your own judgment on this. I will show you some of the evidence I found of him leaving and some of him staying. And it looks like the powers that be, at least the ones that have been in power historically, have decided Joe Biden is staying right now. And there might be a lot of reasons for that. Can he actually leave? Can he actually be taken off the ballot in some states? Is it possible to switch the candidate in some states? It might not be possible. But Bill O'Reilly, I know a lot of you probably know who Bill O'Reilly is. Former, Fox News host, right? he said, the decision has been made that the president will quit the campaign. So does he have some sort of inside information? Does he have an inside scoop? We don't know. This could be clickbait, guys. You guys are watching on YouTube, which you most likely are, because this is the only place I'm streaming this right now. You guys know what clickbait is. Bill O'Reilly, he's not, the thing he used to be. He doesn't have that show on Fox News anymore. So is he purporting to know some information that he really doesn't? Depends. But he gives two reasons. He says, Democrats' internal polling says he cannot recover from the debate and fundraising is drying up. And we'll go through some of those fundraisers who are raising concerns about Joe Biden's performance and if he can actually stick it through this election and have even a sliver of a chance of winning. But then he puts a comment in this his own post. He says, so it's over for Joe, but the White House doesn't know how or when to make the announcement. Stay close. So Bill O'Reilly is of the opinion that Joe Biden will be leaving. He will not be the nominee. And he says the decision has already been made. They just don't know how to tell the public. Now, the public, it seems, has already made up their mind about Joe Biden. Polymarket is a betting website, and they bet on all sorts of things. And it's not necessarily a poll, but in a way it is, right? Studies have shown, from what I've read, because I've done talks, YouTube videos on these things before, and I've read in my research that betting websites, they actually do better in predicting things than actual polls. And one of the reasons why, of course, is obvious, is because people are putting money where their mouth is. So it's not just a phone call. Hey, yeah, I'm going to vote for this guy. It's no, here's money. This is how confident I am that this guy is going to win. So think about that how you may. I think it makes sense. But Polymarket showed all-time low for Joe Biden on his odds of winning the election. He's only at 16%, which is pretty incredible. Look at that. 16% odds of winning. Absolutely devastating for Joe Biden. Trump is at 63%. So I don't know if you know math, but that is a massive chasm between those two numbers. You don't have to know math to know that. Also, a CBS poll that was done shows that 72% of registered voters say Joe Biden lacks the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. Watch.
We begin this morning with reaction to the first presidential debate of 2024. Our polling unit asked voters how they view the candidates now, including their cognitive health. The results are not encouraging for the president. The number of voters who say President Biden has the cognitive ability to serve has dropped from 35% earlier this month to 27% after the debate. That's the lowest number since CBS began asking voters that question last September. Nearly 3/4 of all registered voters now say he shouldn't be running, and nearly half of Democrats say he shouldn't remain the nominee.
So 3/4 of Democrats, or of Democrat registered voters, say that Joe Biden should not be running. 3/4? 70, I think she said nearly. I'll be precise here. 72%. So that's nearly 3/4. You know, I hesitate really to come out on these streams and really bash Joe Biden anymore. And the reason being is because I want Joe Biden to become the Democrat nominee, because the chances of him winning against Trump are so slim, it seems almost impossible, knock on wood. And you know, if you are a Republican who observed 2020, why I would say knock on wood. But if something like that were to happen in 2024, I mean, it would be so incredibly unbelievable that there would just be no question, okay? I'm sorry. It would be so incredibly unbelievable that people would be like, come on, really? Really? But even Democrat voters, as you can see here, are really jumping ship. They're wanting a new nominee, but what we've seen so far from this mega powerful establishment, from the likes of individuals such as Obama and Clinton, which I'll show you here in a bit when we get into all the reasons why Joe Biden is going to stay, they want him to stay as the nominee. And a lot of people probably think that this is crazy. Like, why would they want this guy who is so inept to stay the nominee? And I've spoken to people about this before, and my conclusion is that Biden, being senile and old, not really having any agencies over his mental faculties, is a feature, not a bug. That is so valuable to institutions and forces who want to take control of various factions and aspects of his administration to use to their own advantage, that they are willing to risk it. They are willing, even as far as this debate that happened just last week where Joe Biden just bombed in front of the public. And it wasn't like a bomb where it was like, you know, he just did bad. It wasn't that. There's other things, there's other context involved. It's something that he really can't do much about because of his age. So it's not like, oh, he did bad then, you know, that's just a one-off. No, he's old. And unfortunately, when you get old, the older you get, the less you can do about stuff like that. But they are still willing to prop this guy up. And I believe the reason why is because it's risk versus reward. If they are actually able to push him through, the reward that they get from essentially a corpse in the White House is so insane that they'll risk just about anything to do it. Because, I mean, as it turns out, I will show you here in a bit as well, that there really aren't any other alternatives that are polling any better at all than Joe Biden, which is really interesting. But we do have factions in the media who are heavily criticizing Joe Biden. And this could be coming from certain fundraisers who want to see Biden out. Could be coming from certain institutions that want to see Biden out, that are kind of fracturing from the main Democrat Party. But they also, looks like they have contacts within the media, because the media doesn't just talk about this stuff themselves. There are people who are in their ear saying, hey, we need to, you know, push back on Biden a little bit. But Kristen Welker on NBC News, she came out and she just had she calls Biden out for his disastrous performance, and then goes on to show a collage of Democrats pretending to be surprised by this. And it's really damning how they act. It's pretty interesting, but watch.
It is yet another extraordinary moment in the 2024 election cycle, with Democrats in a state of crisis after President Joe Biden delivered a disastrous debate performance that fueled voters' top concerns about his age and ability to serve another 4 years in office. Not since the first Nixon-Kennedy debate in 1960 has a debate had as much potential to shake up a presidential race. This morning, there is widespread panic within the Democratic Party and questions about whether the president should drop out of the race.
I think it was a disaster. I think it was like maybe the worst debate I've ever seen in my entire life.
I do think people feel like that we are confronting a crisis.
There were going to be discussion about whether he should continue.
At first it was shocking, then it was scary, then it was sad, and by the end it was absurd. Is the riskiest path sticking with Joe Biden, or is the riskiest path saying we want someone else? And anybody who says that that is not a tough call right now is full of
On Friday, in a stunning move, the New York Times editorial board called on President Biden to serve his country and drop out of the presidential race. NBC News has learned that President Biden is expected to address his campaign with his family at Camp David. That's according to 5 people familiar with the matter. Now, he and First Lady Jill Biden arrived there late last night to join their children and grandchildren in a trip planned before Thursday's debate. The campaign was always going to be a topic of conversation, but now undoubtedly Thursday's debate will be front and center. Senior advisor Anita Dunn addressed the matter on Saturday.
You all did not have any kind of conversations about, oh, should Joe Biden drop out of this race?
The conversation that we had is, okay, what do we do next? Okay, that is, if there's one thing that we're about, it's, okay, Barack Obama said bad debates happen. We had a bad debate. What do we do next? And, you know, the president, above all, is focused on what do we do next? What do I need to go do?
President Biden, who agreed to the earliest general election debate in modern political history, had one goal: to persuade voters who are skeptical about his age and fitness for office that he is up to serve another 4 years. Mr. Biden has consistently told voters, watch me.
If I were to run, I think they're going to judge me on my vitality. Can I still run up the steps of Air Force Two? Am I still in good shape? Do I have all my faculties? Am I energetic? I think it's totally legitimate for people to ask those questions. This is for the voters to decide. Take a look. Look at me, see if I have the energy, see if I know what I'm talking about, and make their judgment. I think it's a legitimate thing to be concerned about anyone's age, including mine.
So yeah, you guys kind of get the drift there. Joe Biden, watch me. And the problem is when people watch him, they see something that is diametrically opposed to what the Biden administration is trying to push out. This whole, you don't have to be worried about anything at all. But there was a rumor, and this rumor started at NBC, which is pretty interesting, that the Biden administration or the Biden family went to Camp David to discuss the future of the re-election campaign. So that this rumor started on NBC, and then it was, I guess, refuted directly by the family and the administration. Like, this is not happening. So it's weird. It's like there's someone that has access to media or contacts in the media that is saying, listen, we really got to put out some negative press about Joe Biden because this is bad. This is really, really bad. And these people have contacts in NBC. And they put this out. And then it's like these factions are warring with the Biden administration. And people are taking sides. The Democrat Party is fracturing. Yes. Yes. Divide and conquer. But I'm all about Joe Biden staying in the race, honestly, 100%. Biden. I'm riding with Biden, ladies and gentlemen. I am riding with Biden, if not for his abysmal poll numbers against Donald Trump. But let's take a look at this, kind of what the rumor was about President Joe Biden going to Camp David and why. NBC reports President Joe Biden is expected to discuss the future of his re-election campaign with family on Sunday, following a nationally televised debate, which we all saw. That left many fellow Democrats worried about his ability to beat former President Donald Trump, according to 5 people familiar with the matter. 5 people. Wonder who those 5 people are. They can't name them. You know, some of those sources that they can't name. Biden's trip to Camp David was planned before Thursday's debate. He and First Lady Jill Biden are scheduled to join their children and grandchildren there late Saturday. So far, the party's top leaders have offered public support for Biden, including tweets posted by former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Yeah, those stand-up guys right there. What a couple guys to have in your corner. And honestly, I mean, they probably are pretty good guys to have in your corner because these are people, regardless of how evil they are respected. Sometimes you have to respect someone just how evil they are. You have to, it's kind of like showing a cobra respect. You're not just going to be playing around with a cobra. You've got to respect that thing because you know what it's capable of. So, if you're in the Democrat Party, watch out. We got Clinton and Barack Obama. They're not on your side, so you better watch your mouth. Senior congressional Democrats, including Hakeem Jeffries, Jim Clyburn, and Nancy Pelosi, have privately expressed concerns about his viability. Now, while some of these people are privately expressing concerns about his viability, as reported by NBC right here, publicly they are coming out and they are, of course, trying to gaslight the public about Joe Biden, trying to instead shift the spotlight to Donald Trump and how much of a liar he is. And, that's kind of par for the course. That's what they do. When they can't justify something in their party, they just try to shift the spotlight, move the goalpost somewhere else. They can never justify the stuff that is going on in the leftist movement right now. I'm not going to get into it too much, but if you guys have seen the videos of the San Francisco Pride Parade, it's absolute degeneracy. It's shocking stuff that is going on in San Francisco right now. And if you are on Twitter or X, I would suggest you don't search for those videos. That being said, it's important for people to know what is actually happening in our country right now in certain parts of the country, because it reminds me of the story in the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah. And it's mega shocking, but that's all I'll say about that. But these Democrats have privately expressed concerns about his viability, said two sources apprised of those discussions, even as they all publicly backed the president. One Democrat House member who believes Biden should drop out of the race, but has yet to call for that publicly, told NBC News that three colleagues expressed the same sentiment to him during votes on the House floor Friday. So it seems like, even though it looks like there's a lot of Democrats who want Biden to step down, they're unwilling to really admit so publicly because they're not really sure what is going to happen. The powers that be, what their decision is going to be. But then, shortly after this article came out from NBC, White House denies rumors Biden is heading to Camp David to discuss dropping out of race with family. It's not true. The premise of the story is not accurate, the White House official said. So just rumors swirling everywhere. There's blood in the water, specifically Joe Biden's blood, made by the shark Donald Trump during the debate. You know, Trump's story about boats and sharks. Well, that really backfired on them, didn't it? Trump was a shark and Biden was a person in the boat that jumped out of the boat not to get electrocuted. And it's, yeah. You have to watch Trump's rallies to get that reference. But the White House has refuted reports suggesting that President Joe Biden is contemplating withdrawing from the presidential race and allowing another candidate to be the Democrat Party's nominee. If elected for a second term, Biden would be in the White House through 2028 and leave office at 86 years old. 86. That's 14 years away from 100 years old. A century. Right? That's a century, right? Am I wrong? I think that's a century. A Saturday report from NBC News that we just read indicated that President Biden was expected to travel to Camp David on Sunday with family to discuss future of his re-election campaign. And then in response to the report, a White House official stated, quote, "The premise of the story is not accurate." Okay, the premise? The White House clarified that the trip to Camp David had been scheduled for weeks and added, there is nothing more to it. The Biden family is also planning to take a family photo during their visit to Camp David. Aw. Hunter Biden. He's going to be in the family photo. Most likely. Democratic Party leaders continue to discuss the notion of replacing Biden on the ticket for the November election. A spokesperson for Nancy Pelosi's office said, Speaker Pelosi has full confidence in President Biden and looks forward to attending his inauguration on January 20th of 2025. Any suggestion that she has engaged in a different course of action is simply not true. Additionally, the party has enlisted the help of former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, who have issued statements defending Biden despite his poor debate performance. Clinton is 78, Obama is 63 years old. But they say here, the decision rests with President Biden and many delegates who have already been allocated to vote for him at the upcoming DNC. According to NBC, one person close to Biden described his mood as humiliated, devoid of confidence, and painfully aware that images of him appearing confused during the debate could be damaging for both his campaign and presidential legacy. Another source close to Biden suggested that First Lady Jill Biden's opinion will significantly influence the president's decision. And the source that said this said the only person who has ultimate influence with him is the First Lady. So is Jill Biden running our country? Is that what's going on here? Jill Biden, the first female president. Woohoo. If she decides there should be a change of course, there will be a change of course. But even though we see Jill Biden seeming very ecstatic about Joe Biden's speech abilities, I found this on Twitter the other day. I thought this was interesting. I don't know if you'll be able to see this very good, but watch Jill Biden's face as Joe Biden starts talking. So, we always say, Jill Biden is like his number one fan, but her face really in this video kind of gives it away. She seems disgusted by what Joe Biden says. Listen.
The northern military trying to get the Apaches back in the reservation, and they're relying like hell to them, and they're all sitting on a bluff, and John Wayne was sitting.
You catch that right there. She's like, oh, here we go again. Look at her face. And it's really weird that she would make this face because she's got to know cameras are on her at all times, but it's so bad. Even though she knows the cameras are on her, filming her, she has a visceral reaction. She has a visible reaction to what Joe Biden is saying here because she's like, man, it's got to be painful at this point, right? Every time Biden does this, it's like a wound that just keeps getting reopened. Because I can't imagine being embarrassed this many times in public. So that wound is probably so festering and is so infected at this point that every time Biden does something like this, it just stings a lot more.
John Wayne was sitting with two.
Look at her face.
They were Apaches.
Oh no, she's like pacing and kind of looks nervous.
Lion, dog-faced pony soldiers.
So, Jill Biden's face kind of gives it away. And, some other indications of Joe Biden just kind of losing it before we go into the next segment, guys. Joe Biden.
Senator Jill right here.
All right.
OMG, that's a big deal.
So I think, once again, the story here is not really. So RNC Research, they always come out with these great videos that really, the Democrats just make Joe Biden, the Democrats, look awful. It's like their whole, they do opposition research basically, and they come out with these videos and they put them out on Twitter. They say Biden is confused again, but I think the story here is what we see over and over and over and over again with Joe Biden, where people talk to Biden like he is a child. And this kind of betrays people's true feelings about Joe Biden. People know that he is old, that he is not all there. His mental faculties aren't all there. And people just inherently have a way of speaking to someone who may not have peak mental faculties. People like children, or maybe someone that is in an old age home. You don't speak to that person like you speak to any other person. It's just kind of a natural tendency most people have. When you speak to children, you don't speak to them the same way you speak to, say you would speak to a 25-year-old man or a 25-year-old woman. You don't speak to that person the same way you speak to a 5-year-old. Same thing, you don't speak to that person the same way you would speak to someone who is in a nursing home and, is sundowning, to put it nicely. And you hear this senator that he calls up on stage doing just that. Listen, I'm so proud of you. That is not how you should speak to the president of the United States. But lastly, for the reasons why Joe Biden is going to leave, we have a Biden supporter who says Biden has an illness and can't serve for 4 more years. And he also says that the Democrats don't owe him another 4 more years. Listen.
He shouldn't be the nominee. You can't look at that debate. You can't unsee what we've seen. And it was not just a bad debate. He's older. He has a health problem, I'm going to put it that way, and I'm sympathetic to him. He's been a good president. We owe him a lot for what he did in 2020 in defeating Donald Trump, and we owe him a lot for being a good president for 3.5 years. We don't owe him another 4 years in the White House, and he should step aside, and all of his delegates can have a nice debate among themselves, and people can run, and they can select a better nominee, and he shouldn't be the nominee.
So, looks like the public in general don't have the greatest view of Biden right now, for obvious reasons, of course. We all saw the same debate. There's nothing hiding it. I heard someone talking about how shocking it must be for some of these Democrats who may not really pay as much close attention to politics or the presidential race as, say, maybe you or I do. How shocking it must be for these Democrats who just go about their everyday lives and maybe they catch a headline here and there, or catch maybe a segment on CNN or NBC here and there, to maybe decide to put aside some time for the first time in this presidential election cycle to, pay attention to the presidential debate, because this is the first presidential debate. So we're going to set aside some time. We're going to watch it. Imagine this group of Democrats finally deciding to pay some attention to this presidential election, other than having this inherent idea that, orange man bad. And they have been primed. They have been gaslit. Whenever they turn on the news, when they do, or whenever they read a headline that the Republicans are going after Joe Biden, trying to make him look senile. They're making cheap fakes and deep fakes, and they're trying to paint him to look this certain way and make him look weak and all these other things. Imagine their shock, utter shock and dismay and surprise when they turn on the debate and they see that the caricature, in quotes, air quotes, that the Republicans have supposedly painted Joe Biden over the past, year is in fact not a caricature. It is a accurate representation of what Joe Biden is. Imagine their shock. But this doesn't matter, it seems, because when I look at what I'm seeing from the media, the general temperature in the room, it looks like the establishment, these powerful individuals that really call the shots in the Democratic Party, are saying, nope, Biden's not going anywhere. He's our nominee. Barack Obama, of course, he said this a few days ago. Bad debates happen, trust me, I know, but this election is still a choice between someone who has fought for ordinary folks his entire life and somebody who only cares about himself. And then he goes on to draw these delineations between, Biden, good, Trump, bad. Biden, truth, Trump, liar. Just all the normal stuff. He's not the only one, because Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, and it's really funny here because he turned off comments in this post that he made on X. Biden didn't turn off comments. Bill Clinton, though, did. I wonder why. Maybe it has to do with a certain island somewhere, but wait, what? I just got a lump in my throat. Hopefully Clinton didn't poison my coffee. Well, Bill Clinton said, I'll leave the debate rating to the pundits, but here's what I know. Facts and history matter. Joe Biden has given us 3 years of solid leadership, studying us for the pandemic, creating record number of new jobs, making real progress solving the climate crisis, and launching a successful effort to reduce inflation. What? No way. He went there. All while putting us out of the quagmire Donald Trump left us in. That's what's really at stake in November. So Clinton and Obama, the two heavyweight as far as individuals are concerned, coming out and defending Joe Biden, it seems. But even if people, the heavyweights, the establishment, institutions, even if they wanted Joe Biden gone, could he actually leave? Is that possible, legally speaking? This is a tweet from Charlie Kirk over the weekend. He says, this is big. It's likely already too late to remove Joe Biden from the ballot. And this is linked to an article. I won't go through the article because he kind of summarizes it pretty well right here in the tweet. Wisconsin, it's already too late to remove Joe Biden from the ballot. Nevada, after tonight, the fourth Friday in June, it will be too late to remove Joe Biden. Georgia, only a few weeks remain before it will be too late to remove Biden from the ballot. This is from the Daily Mail. The Heritage Oversight Project has set their sights on 3 contentious swing states where they believe taking Biden off the Democratic ticket would not allow anyone else to replace him. Georgia, Nevada, and Wisconsin. So maybe this is a reason why these Democratic heavyweight individuals are coming out and saying, listen, no, Biden's our guy. This could be a reason. Maybe it's too late. Maybe they have no choice. So they can't even address, they can't even acknowledge that there is a problem, really. I know Obama did in a way. He said, hey, it's, bad debates happen. He kind of brushed it off. So even if they wanted to, there is a possibility they can't. It's just not possible. Wisconsin does not allow withdrawal from the ballot for any reason besides death. Oh, wow. I mean, look at who's in Biden's circle. I mean, I guess that is a possibility. And if that were to happen, I don't think anybody would be particularly surprised other than maybe Republicans. We would be putting our tinfoil hats on very quickly over just the coincidence and the timing of that happening, if that were to happen. In Nevada, no changes can be made to the ballot after 5 p.m. on the 4th Friday in June. So, what is it right now? It's July. So, that's it. It's July the 1st. And if you guys are going to make fun of me that I didn't know that it was July the 1st today, it's okay. I can take it, okay? I probably knew it. I just had to look at my phone to make sure. Kind of like if you were in college and you had a really easy math question, like, 3 + 3 = 6. You want to check it on your calculator just to make sure you're doing it right. You guys, I've been there. I've been there. I know the answer. I just want to make sure. 4th Friday in June of an election year, or a nominee dies or is adjudicated insane or mentally incompetent. So, that's still in the cards right there. So they would have to just say that Biden is insane or mentally incompetent. I guess you can make a case for insane, but there is a much larger case for mentally incompetent. If Biden were to withdraw less than 60 days before the election, his name would remain on the ballot, but no votes will be counted. In Texas, the party's nominees have until the 74th day before the election to withdraw from the ballot. Some states, like South Carolina, do not allow candidates to withdraw for political reasons. So, one of the reasons why they don't want Biden to withdraw could be it's not possible. He can't. They can't replace him. Or, how about this? This is a big thing. Remember how I said that it might not matter who is up against Trump because other people who face up against Trump really don't poll much better. This is a tweet of a graph that came from a Biden campaign fundraising email. It included a graphic of polling that was done comparing Biden versus other Trump potential alternative opponents. Some of these include Kamala Harris, Buttigieg, Booker, Cory Booker, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer. Ugh. It's my governor right there. Please no. Klobuchar, Shapiro, and Pritzker. So let's see if we can get this as big as possible here. So this is from a fundraising email from the Biden campaign saying, hey, we're really your best shot. Because if you look at it, Biden is actually polling the best out of any of these candidates, regardless, or shall I say, despite his performance during the debate. So Biden versus Trump, Harris versus Trump is interesting because Biden and Harris, amongst likely voters, perform the same. I guess, I don't know. That's weird. But every other one either polls 44% or 43%. Newsom is at 44%. Biden and Harris at 45%. They say at the end of the day, we'd switch to candidates who would, according to polls, be less likely to win than Joe Biden, the only person ever to defeat Donald Trump. Leading Democrats fare similarly in head-to-heads against Trump. So that's what they're doing in the Biden administration, saying, hey, listen, I know it sucks, but you know what really sucks? He's actually polling the best. He's actually polling the best, and they're really doing damage control, guys, because this also came in a campaign email. The Biden administration is sending out talking points and attempts to comfort Democrat voters that what they actually saw during the debate wasn't what they actually saw, because if what they actually saw was true, then the logical conclusion would be, of course, that this guy can't possibly run a fast food joint, much less a country. And this is what it said. So, Alex, this was sent to an Alex, ALX. This is one of Benny Johnson's producers, ALX. I guess he's signed up for the Biden-Harris campaign emails. I don't know. I don't have them. Maybe I should, just for, content's sake. They said, "Hey, Alex." Oh, wait. I got to show you. I got to read what it's headlined as. 7 things to tell your friends after the debate. And 4 things you can do. Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. Imagine being a Democrat. Like, gosh, what? Wait, I have to do this work and justify it to my friends? I have to justify an old man? Like, why can't I just have a candidate that is viable? But now I have to do work. I have to put in this work to justify this horrific performance? Wait, now I have to do that? This is what they say. If you're like me, you're getting lots of texts or calls from folks about the state of the race after Thursday. Maybe it was your panicked aunt, your MAGA uncle, or some self-important podcasters. It's a tough position to be in, so I thought it might be helpful to send you a few responses. So they are sending scripts for Democrat voters. This is how badly they are doing right now. What a panic they are in. This is how much they have to do damage control. They have to send scripts to Democrat voters to justify to their friends and family members and people in their circle what happened, what is happening, what happened during this debate, because they've been gaslit for so long by the media that Biden's okay. Everything that the Republicans say about Biden being, sick and feeble and senile, that is all a deep fake. That's all a cheap fake. They're editing things dishonestly. But all of a sudden, CNN puts on this debate, and they do everything they can to make it as easy as possible for Joe Biden. No deep fakes, no cheap fakes. And what happens? Total explosion. So now you have these bewildered Democrat voters like, what the F just happened? What is going on? They're like, whoa, have I been lied to this entire time? Yes, you have. Yes, you have. But even though we lied to you, no, you still need to dig in because we got work to do. Now, you have to be complicit in the lies. Not only did we lie to you, now we want you to be complicit in the lies and actively tell your friends and family that everything is okay. And here is a script that I want you to read from the Biden-Harris administration. Number 1, yes, the debate started rough, but voters saw what a threat Donald Trump is to the country. It was more than just lying, though he did plenty of that. Trump. And then another one, the bedwetting brigade is calling for Joe Biden to drop out. That is the best possible way for Donald Trump to win and us to lose. First of all, Joe Biden is going to be the Democrat nominee, period. Yes, Obama has decided that Joe Biden will be the Democrat nominee, and he was backed up by Bill Clinton. So, sorry guys, you lose, we win, Biden's the nominee. I don't care what you think, Biden's the nominee, because Obama said so. End of the story. Joe Biden is going to be the Democrat nominee, period, end of story. Okay, I guess. Wait, I thought we all believed in democracy. Wait, what? Wait, so you're saying all this talk about democracy and, listening to the public, that's all talk? Yes, it is all talk. They don't care what you think. They don't care what you want at all. All it is is power. They will lie to people, steal from people, cheat, do whatever they can to stay in power and to suck up power as quickly as possible. He won overwhelmingly, so they are still hearkening back to the 2020 election. He won overwhelmingly, which, you know, I have some serious reservations over that situation, as do most of you. But, you know, he won overwhelmingly in the safest and most secure election of all time. And if he were to drop out, it would lead to weeks of chaos, internal food fighting. Food fighting? Is that what they really put in this email? And a bunch of candidates who limp into a brutal floor fight at the convention, all while Donald Trump has time to speak to American voters uncontested. All of that would be in service of a nominee who would go into a general election in the weakest possible position with $0 in their bank. You want a highway to losing? It's that. So, Biden-Harris campaign sending emails telling people how to respond to their friends who talk about Joe's performance at the debate. So it's very interesting. But the propaganda machine is in full force, guys. Completely in full force. And some of these people, you got to question their sanity. Do they really believe this? Or are they just this evil to really lie to the American people this much and to make their lies as ridiculous as possible? Keith Olbermann is one of these. He claims that Biden's poor performance was due to what? What was it due to? Cold medication.
A special edition of the Countdown podcast is now live. Biden is not dropping out of the presidential race, and there is a theory now abroad in the land that the entire debate debacle Thursday night may have owed to over-the-counter cold medication.
Oh.
If he had a cold and he had cold medication, it could have been the cause of his problems.
Ah, that explains it all.
That conclave of the Biden family oligarchy, a kind of intervention to discuss with him whether or not to withdraw from presidential consideration, as reported by NBC News and several other organizations, it wasn't exactly a conclave, and they're not exactly an oligarchy. The meeting at Camp David on Sunday afternoon was a photo shoot with Annie Leibovitz.
So, yeah, cold medication, guys. Sounds reasonable. Yeah, that sounds right. So it's really odd if Joe Biden had a cold and this was all due to cold medication, side effects. You know, I've had colds before. I'm not sure if I've taken cold medication before. I probably have, but I don't ever remember that being a side effect. If I have. Side effect, just not being able to talk. Very interesting. But other people who are in just complete denial, probably due to necessity, not because they are actually in denial, is some other people in Biden's administration. I don't think the American people is this much in denial where they will actually believe the things that comes out of this administration's mouth. But this is an individual from Wisconsin. It's a Biden campaign co-chair. His name is Jim Clyburn. He says he hasn't heard a single person express anything negative about Biden's disastrous debate performance. So is this their tactic here, to just stick their heads in the sand and just expect everybody to believe none of this happened? It's like that story about the emperor getting new clothes. Everyone surrounding the emperor is pretending like he is wearing clothes. And then he walks out into the street and, you know, the public is like, wait, what? What is going on? And it's like a perfect analogy, guys. Listen.
Congressman Clyburn, since you are there in Wisconsin and doing lots of events, tell me the truth. What are you hearing from people on the ground?
Almost total, and I'm saying almost because
I have not heard a single person express anything negative. All they're saying to us is keep Joe Biden moving forward.
Congressman Clyburn, since you are there in Wisconsin.
So, not a single negative comment by anybody. Very interesting. I find that hard to believe, but could it be possible? I guess it's possible. You know, there's just about anything is possible, but highly unlikely that is actually happening. One person I thought kind of had an interesting take was this guy. His name is Alan Leichtman. He says this debate does not matter in a historical context. Now, listen to what this guy says, and I'm going to get into just very quickly kind of this checklist that this guy has created. Apparently, he's like a super smart guy. He's a super smart political strategist. He made this checklist called the Keys to the White House. And it's a checklist of 13 true-false statements that pertain to the circumstances surrounding a presidential election and the likelihood that a candidate will win. But this is what he had to say about the debate.
All of these pundits and pollsters and analysts that you see on all the cable channels and all the networks have no track record in predicting elections. And yet they come on and they claim they know how this debate is going to affect the outcome of elections. They have no idea. It's sports talk radio. It may be entertaining, but it has no scientific basis.
So what is the impact, do you think?
Zero. Debates are not predictive of outcomes. Hillary Clinton won all 3 debates, still lost. John Kerry won all the debates, still lost. Barack Obama got trounced, 72 to 20% in the poll, worse than Biden, and went on to win. That's why we rely on the 13 keys, which tap into the structure.
So we're going to look at these 13 keys just really quick. I'm not going to really dwell on it very much, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I think one thing that he doesn't kind of mention here, he talks about Hillary Clinton winning the debates, Obama losing debates, and he still won. I think one thing that he really is not taken into account, and far be it from me to question his genius, but it's the fact that Joe Biden can't do anything about his age. He's old, and that's just that it is what it is. I don't see him mentioning that. But far be it from me to question this guy's genius 13 keys or whatever. But this is what he claims really matters when it comes to a president winning the White House. And I thought it was kind of interesting. The 13 keys, the keys to the White House is a checklist of 13 true-false statements that pertain to the circumstances surrounding a presidential election. If 5 or fewer of the following statements are false, the incumbent party is predicted to win the election. But if 6 or more are false, the incumbent party is predicted to lose. Interesting. So let's look at these 13 keys. Number 1, party mandate. After the midterm elections, the incumbent party holds more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives than after the previous midterm elections. So that looks like it's false. No primary contest. There is no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. So that kind of looks true because there's really no contest, right? Well, I don't know. It kind of depends. It's kind of up in the air right now, but so far as it stands now, that's true. Incumbent seeking re-election. True. The incumbent party candidate is the sitting president. No third party. There is no significant third party or independent campaign. That's false. There is Robert F. Kennedy, RFK Jr. Strong short-term economy. The economy is not in recession during the election campaign. I mean, I don't know if it's technically in recession right now, but I wouldn't call this a strong economy that we're in right now. They might try to gaslight and say something like that, but I don't think anybody believes. Oh, there's two. Okay, the economy is not in a recession during the election campaign. I guess it's not technically in recession. Number 6, strong long-term economy, or that's short-term and long-term. I'm just going to say that one's false. It's not strong. Strong long-term economy, real per capita economic growth during the term equals or exceeds a mean growth during the previous 2 terms. Now, I haven't looked at the mean growth of the economy and how it equals or exceeds the growth of the term, but I'm going to just say false. So we're already at number 4. Major policy change. The incoming administration affects major changes in the national policy. This is true. He has implemented major policy changes. Specifically for the border, that's a huge one. That is a huge sticking point for voters this election cycle for president. No social unrest. There is no sustained social unrest during the term. That is false. I would say that is false. So we're at number 5. No scandal. The incoming administration is untainted by major scandals. False. We got the Hunter Biden scandal. I mean, I would consider these lawfare tactics against Trump and that trial in New York, the hush money trial, I would consider that a scandal for Joe Biden because one of the lead prosecutors in that trial was Matthew Colangelo, who came from Biden's administration and also Obama's administration. I would consider that a scandal. And also the fact that this is not the only case that he has faced that really smells not just fishy, but straight up stinky, okay? Just smells straight up disgusting garbage heap like you're standing in a landfill. Fishy is not a good enough way to describe it. So I would say those are scandals. So that's 6. No foreign military failure. That's false. That's 7. Major foreign military success. False. That's 8. Charismatic incumbent. False. That's 9. Uncharismatic challenger. So from this guy's own 13 keys, Joe Biden's administration, it's false for 10 of them. And what does he say here? If 6 or more are false, the incumbent party is predicted to lose. So 10, from what I see here, even if you were charitable on some of these, you might could whittle it down to 8. So he's on the news, CNN, talking about how, the election or the debate has no indication on whether or not he's going to win or a candidate will win. It actually has to do with my 13 keys. Does he ever mention that Biden fails 8 to 10 of those? No. His own predictive framework says Joe Biden will not win re-election. If you're charitable, 8 are false. If you're a realist like I am, 10 are false. So, interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Some other kind of funny stuff going on. Joe Biden. We'll get into some clips here. Elton John is campaigning for Joe Biden, I guess. He's another one of these that are on the Biden train, riding with Biden. Listen to this exchange between Biden and Elton John. I mean, this is just the enthusiasm from Elton John is just absolutely incredible. It's absolutely crazy. If anything says, I am just paid to be here, I don't give an F about Joe Biden or anything else. I'm just doing this just for, the optics. It's this. Let me read what conspires here because it might be hard to hear, just so you can listen to it. After Elton John gives his little talk, Biden, kind of in the background, says, "Good job, man. And Elton John says, huh? Oh. And then Biden just walks away. Listen.
Good job, man. Good job.
You hear that? Good job, man.
Good job, man. Good job.
Huh? Oh. He doesn't even say thanks. He's, oh, okay. Cool. It's just the president of the United States of America saying good job. Some other people who are absolutely just falling apart over this, and it's amazing to see. Nancy Pelosi, she had some meltdowns over this idea that, Trump lied through the entire debate. Nancy Pelosi just has this visceral reaction to even the thought of Donald Trump. Like, I would almost think that Pelosi has a massive crush on Trump. This is how someone reacts when they just have a massive crush on you. I've experienced it before. You make them mad very easily because you just have that much control over their emotions. And this is what happened with Nancy Pelosi. Listen.
Compared to a person who was lying the whole time, we saw integrity on one side and dishonesty on the other. That's how I saw it.
And what do you say to former President Trump, who blames you for January 6th and says you didn't take his offer for the National Guard?
He thinks I planned my own assassination. He's sicker than I thought.
Oh, he's sicker. He thinks I planned. Oh, it's great. It's great. And, I'm not going to go through this entire article, but there is a Politico article that talks about this too, kind of. They say how Trump played a key role in Biden's debate disaster. They say that Thursday's debate couldn't have gone worse for Joe Biden, but his rally the next day was different. And what's the difference there? There was no Donald Trump. That's interesting. So it's almost like Biden, in the presence of Donald Trump, becomes a withering coward. That's all it takes for Biden to turn into a withering fool. And I think there's a reason for that. I think Joe Biden knows that he is complicit in what is happening, not only to this country, but really culminating in what is happening to Trump with these lawfare tactics. He knows. I think he kind of in the back of his mind knows that his administration is doing this to Trump. So when faced with Donald Trump, who is the target of the vitriol of his administration, he turns into a withering, mumbling, evil little moron. Because evil in the same proximity as good, I believe good always really kind of destroys evil. And Biden is not young enough to get his wits about him. So he's not like a Gavin Newsom who can really be evil and be evil really good anymore. Because you really have to work at it to be evil. So Biden, his wits are not about him. He's evil. He knows it. He knows he's complicit. And in the vicinity of Donald Trump, who is a force for good for this country, he turns into a blithering moron. Speaking of blithering morons, Adam Kinzinger, apparently there is a conspiracy theory going around that CNN intentionally made Biden appear weak using lighting effects. This is a real conspiracy going on, of course. Adam Kinzinger retweeted this, but he actually kind of came out against it. But this person said CNN's carefully considered framing and lighting design effectively conveyed the intended perceptions of fragility versus dominance in visual composition. Yeah, because that is what's happening here. CNN is, they're on the MAGA train through and through, 100%. Biden was filmed in profile, looking pale as a ghost. Trump was filmed straight on, not looking his usual shade of tangerine, but more like marmalade. Biden is a man of honor, integrity, resilience, and resolve. A Trump is a Trump is a Trump. So this is their proof that CNN is colluding with the Trump administration to make Biden appear weak, which is totally ridiculous. I mean, just absolutely what? So I don't really see what they mean. Biden does look pretty pale, but lighting effect, I think Biden just looked pale. It's hard to say. That's just how it was. More people that are digging in their heels when it comes to Joe Biden, of course, are Harry Sisson. He says that not only is Joe Biden the right person for the job, but he will win. And he said this on Piers Morgan's Uncensored show.
And do you believe, Harry, finally, do you believe in your heart that Joe Biden is the right person to lead the Democrats into the election in November? And do you believe he can win?
He can win. He's going to win. And as Vice President Harris said, we don't let a 90-minute performance negate 3.5 years of progress. Biden's the only man who has beaten Donald Trump, and he's going to do it again. And I'm looking forward to convicted felon Donald Trump facing justice.
Why are you the only...
So, I got to play this part. This part is actually necessary.
Why are you the only person I've heard in the last 24 hours who's not crying because the performance was so horrendous?
Okay, that's all we need to hear of that. Because the answer he gives is not relevant. Because the reason why he's coming out here on Twitter and TikTok and wherever else he has social media defending Biden to the teeth is because he gets paid to do so. So when I see people like Harry Sisson, these TikTokers and influencers, people are like, I got a legitimate question for you. Why are you still supporting Joe Biden? They're like, well, because of X, Y, and Z, Joe Biden, he's so good for democracy and all. It's like, you guys do know he's being paid by the Democratic Party, right? That's why. So any other question that you ask him is kind of ridiculous. You think he's going to bite the hand that feeds him? You think he's going to throw away $200K a year for just posting TikToks and tweets? No. So, Piers Morgan, how about you address that? And why are you having people like freaking Harry Sisson on and asking them these questions as if it's a legitimate question and he's going to answer in a legitimate way? It just doesn't make any sense. But Nancy Pelosi, once again, she is digging her heels in for Joe Biden as well. And it's pretty incredible. She goes on CNN. She slurs her words. She tries to justify the American people, or to the American people, the horror show they saw from their commander-in-chief during the debate. Sounds drunk. Listen.
And, while he may be saying we're enablers, we see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issues, how informed he is. And I debate with him about legislation, and not debate, but discuss it with him. He's right there. So in any case, it was a bad night. Let's not sugarcoat that.
Thanks,
Nancy. It was
Nancy.
a bad night. It was a great presidency. And
it was a bad night. It was just a great presidency. Trust us, guys. Trust me. Trust us. Behind closed doors, he does fantastic. I mean, he can run just miles. He can do cartwheels. He is engaged. He doesn't fall asleep. He's alert. Just trust us, guys. I mean, I know what you saw during the debate, but I mean, behind closed doors, that's really not how it is. Trust us. What a garbage heap right? What a garbage. What is a dumpster fire? That's the term I'm trying to think of. What a dumpster fire. Trust us. Oh my God, it's so funny. Wrapping up though, guys. I mean, we're an hour and a half in. This went longer than I thought. I guess I had a lot of material over the weekend because I save all this stuff for you guys as I go throughout my day. And if you haven't, please hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. Subscribe if you enjoyed the show so far. And we'll wrap up here in just a bit. But David Plouffe, this is a former senior advisor to Obama, says that Biden will most likely stay in the race and become the nominee. He does say that Biden is behind right now, but says that Biden should be put in more basically adversarial situations if he has hope to win. And that's kind of the catch-22 there, is it? It's like, yeah, we need to do that, but then again, you put Biden in these adversarial situations, what's going to happen? Because the debate, that was an adversarial situation. I mean, it's not like super adversarial, but it was a situation where Biden had to defend his administration. He fell apart. Well, now that can of worms is opened, people saw kind of behind the curtain. Now, in order to win and maybe for him to even have a chance of winning, he has to be put in more of those situations. But how are the Democrats going to be able to, or the Biden administration, how are they going to be able to juggle the risk of more of that happening versus the reward of potentially getting better polling if Biden appears energetic in some of these appearances? But they might be between a rock and a hard place because maybe that's their only chance. But this is what David Plouffe, former senior advisor to Obama, had to say, and we'll wrap up with this, guys.
Here's the question. I think all signs point to Joe Biden staying in this race and being our nominee. And that's his right. And really, obviously, he's got family members and advisors, but he's the only voice that matters. And so if he does that, this is a race that we were slightly behind heading into the debate. We'll see where the race stands as we process it in the days to come as we get more data. But CBS News just had a poll today. 72% of Americans don't think he has the mental capability to be president. You're not going to win the White House with those numbers. Now, 49% of the people don't think Trump either, right? So if Biden is to stay in this race, and I think he is, and I have all the confidence in the world in the campaign, Jen O'Malley, Dillon, and others will run, they could run the perfect campaign. It won't get you to a win number of 270 electoral votes unless that fitness number were to get better. So the question is, what are you going to do? He's going to have to be much more aggressive with all the risk that comes with that. A lot more interviews, even in unfriendly places. I think anyway, do the September 10th debate if Trump does it, maybe do more. Like, that's the big thing. I've learned it can be humbling when you're part of a campaigns. Campaigns don't change big things. They help you on the margins. And there's two big things right now. Well, there's three big things. Donald Trump is a super weak candidate. Who can be beat? People's view of the economy is not what we'd like it to be. It's improving a little bit. How do you win that debate on the economy, where Joe Biden has some strength in terms of he cares about people like me, working people? And then this age and fitness question. So I think a race that was already going to be hard to win has gotten harder, and we just all need to embrace that. And I think what you said was so important. If you believe that Donald Trump's election is an existential threat to the country, and I think probably slightly more than half the country believes that, then this is not a race that you try to win. You have to win it. And so as Joe Biden is thinking about the way forward, in my humble view, that has to be like, you can't lose. You got to win. And you got to be sure you're the right person to do that. I think he's got a lot of strengths. I think he's been a great president, but we have to understand where the race is right now, which is we are behind. And we can talk about all the presidents who had bad first debates, and a bunch of them did. Reagan, Obama, Bush were all ahead in their elections. So we had to take that opportunity last Thursday night. Joe Biden did not. He made a problem that's close to existential worse. It doesn't mean it can't be addressed. but it's going to require great strategy, great tactics, and there's risk on both sides, as you said. There's a whole bunch of downsides about a new process. There's downsides staying where we are. Like, we should just, as you know, having worked in the White House, generally every day is deciding between better and worse options. That's kind of.
I think it's funny, Jen Psaki's face here.
I think this is a race that can be won because Donald Trump showed again in the debate and that awful rally afterwards.
So you guys kind of get the gist. He's saying you were behind. And there's a reason why we're behind, and that's because Joe Biden looks weak. He doesn't look capable. I said earlier, he's not capable of running a fast food joint, much less the country. And people see this. Despite all the brainwashing and propaganda, people see this. At some point, people are going to have to contend with the reality that they see for themselves versus what they read and see on, say, their iPhone or TV or the internet. They're going to have to contend with that and realize that it just doesn't match up. And now even these advisors are saying, yeah, we're going to have to put Biden in these, situations, adversarial situations, to try to turn around that perspective and that view that Biden is weak and old and can't do the job. But they also take the massive risk of it just getting worse. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the show for today. Let's see what you guys are up to. In the chat, went a little bit longer today. Didn't realize I had so much material. It was so much. It was insane. Who do we have in the chat? We have Sandra in the chat. Jeremy Brummer says there's been plenty of scandals and plenty of unrest. Yeah, so you must be referencing when I was talking about those 13 indications. Yeah, I mean, that guy, super smart, brainy guy, forget his name already, develops this rubric to determine whether or not, it's really possible that a incumbent president will remain in office and get reelected. And Biden failed 10 of those. So his own rubric shows that not going to happen. Blue Dreamskates says, listen, she said it was a great presidency, past tense. Yes. Very true. George from Southeast Michigan, another Michigan boy. Hey, man. Michigan here myself. Another Mountain Dew and vodka for Nancy Pelosi. Yes. Nancy Pelosi really loves her vodka. It's incredible. Donald French says, I hear Trump got immunity. I have not. That might be true. In fact, let me go to Twitter really fast and see if I hear something. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news just now while I was doing this show. Donald French. This just happened. Breaking. Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump. The president is immune. Official acts are immune. Unofficial acts are subject to criminal prosecution. Breaking news. Let's watch this together, guys. This is crazy stuff. This happened while I was doing the show. Let's listen to this.
Fox, we're going to get out of that commercial break because we have word that the Supreme Court has issued a ruling on the extent of presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts during the tenure of President Trump. This is the big one we've been waiting for. It's consequential. It's really interesting that the Supreme Court in 248 years of our history has never actually ruled on this. So it is big and sweeping. And I have our political panel looking over this right now. Andy McCarthy, Chief Justice John Roberts has the writing on this. He's got the pen. Is that significant?
It's very significant. It's the most important case of the term in terms of the long-term interests of the executive branch, in terms of the short-term interests of Donald Trump. And it looks like, at least within the bounds of clear executive authority, what Chief Justice Roberts is saying is that the president clearly has immunity from prosecution. So the question is going to be, again, I think Trey underscored this before, is what is an official act? There's going to be a lot of litigation about that, and what's close to the core of clear executive constitutional authority versus the outer ambit of it.
So big news right there. Wow. Seems like there's still some stuff that they need to hash out about what exactly is a official act, but I expected this, but now that it's here and it's before us, this is a huge blow to the Democrats. Guys, they are losing. Every single day, it seems like they are losing culturally, they are losing legally, and any of these things that you see in the peripheral, like Bannon going to prison, Navarro going to prison, Donald Trump being convicted of 34 felony counts, any of those things that you see, they are the last dying breaths of a regime lashing out at their opponent, attempting to do anything to put us under. I was going to say put Trump under, but really they're attempting to put us under, the American people under. And this is just what it is. Really. We are winning. Michelle says, thanks, Andrew. Well, thank you, Michelle, for modding. John Stoddard says, hello from Mexico. Wow, we got Mexico in the house. Welcome. Hola. Teresa says, note the emphasis, extra emphasis on official. It's a good point, Teresa. Yes. So that's why I said looks like some other things have to be hashed out. And that's what we have for today, guys. That is the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe if you haven't. Like and subscribe. If you would like to support my channel, support this channel, consider joining as a member. If you see, when you join as a member, you see Michelle here. She has this really cool little badge by her name with the Unwoke Thoughts logo right there. And also you get access to a Discord chat where you can talk to other like-minded people. I'm on there as well. I got some other YouTubers on there, like Veteran Biker. He's on there. And it's a top secret Discord chat, only for Unwoke Thoughts members. So if you're interested in that, guys, sometimes I post members-only videos and live streams on there as well. But thank you for hanging out with me this morning. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. We will see you tomorrow morning on